Let's add proper UI for our battery, stamina, and health. I want to make it clear you should be very cautious moving forward with your game, with your game's HUD. Since you want to make your game as immersive as possible, since that's the goal of many and probably all horror games, many times not having any HUD or having very little HUD, such as just the crosshair, is a viable option. It depends strongly on the tone of the game you are making. But if you decide you do want a progress bars for your health, for your stamina, for your flashlight, all that will be shown in this episode. So I made a few textures for us that you should replace with your own in your game. We're going to put all three of those progress bars I just mentioned in a small box on the lower left section of the screen. But you can obviously place yours wherever you want. This is more about how to get those bars working rather than the layout you want. So I'm just going to go into my textures folder right here, and I'm going to import our new textures. So just hit import. So just navigate to the place where you downloaded your icons right here, and we're just going to select all of them. There should be 3 icons and 2 progress bars, one for empty and one for full. We're just going to open. And I'm just going to save right now. And we can select all 5 of the new ones. And we're going to right click and we're going to asset actions, not bulk export, bulk edit via property matrix. So we can edit them all at once. And under texture, filter, oh, I'm sorry, no, we don't need that actually. Under compression settings, we want to set it to user interface 2D, and under level of detail, texture group, we want to set that to UI. File, and save. We can close that, and they're looking great. So let's get out of the textures folder and into our UMG folder, and we need a new widget. So let's right click, user interface, widget blueprint. I'm going to call this W progress bars and open it up. So we'll delete the canvas panel because we don't need this to lay out on our screen, and we will change this to desired on screen. I mean, once again, the difference between that is with desired on screen we can kind of get an idea of the scale of what we're making. So let's add a size box. And this size box is going to hold our progress bars and our icons, and we're just going to slap this onto our main HUD when we're finished with it. So the section that I want to hold the progress bars is going to be 300 by 200. I'm just going to zoom in a bit. And we want to add a canvas panel inside this size box. And this way we'll be able to kind of lay things out with anchors. So first thing, let's add an image just for a backdrop. And we want to anchor this to full screen and just set all the offsets to 0. And we want the Z order to be -1 to guarantee us that it'll be on the bottom beneath everything else. So first thing we want is a vertical box kind of on the right side of this to stack our 3 progress bars. So let's search for vertical box. We're going to anchor it to the right since it's going to take up this right side here. I'm just going to change it to this one. If we change the position X to 0 and the alignment of the X to 1, it is now on the right side. And as we resize it, it'll resize accordingly. So I want the size X to be 220. So it's going to take up the majority of this. This left section is reserved for our 3 icons, letting you know which one's health, which one's stamina, which one's battery. And the offsets are going to be 20, so 20 right here, and I'm going to make the offset top 20 as well. Now inside this vertical box, we need 3 size boxes for our progress bars. So let's start by just adding one. Search for size box and put it in our vertical box. And we want to check the width and height override, and value I find works for my specific progress bars that I made is 192. by 25 of height. You can't see the 192 right now because it's, I believe it's stretched for the whole thing. But if we take the alignment and we align it to the center, nothing will happen. That's because we need to change this to fill instead of auto. Auto will only request as much room as it needs, and fill will attempt to fill the entire available room, unless you have a width and height override, which, as it says, overrides it. If I were to uncheck the height override, it just collapses to the center. Width override does not, because it's horizontally aligned to the fill, but if we were to do it to the center, it's now collapsed into basically nothingness. So let's recheck width and height, and now we have the correct size. But I don't want this center and center, I want this left and center, just to kind of get it closer to the center of the overall box. Clicking fill is also nice because as we add more, they will evenly distribute vertically, as this is a vertical box. So we don't have to worry about the math that's required to make these all evenly distributed. So let's duplicate this twice. So it's Control-C, vertical box, Control-V. As you can see, it's distributed itself. Choose the vertical box again, and Control-V again. Now we have these three size boxes inside a vertical box that will hold our progress bars. So let's actually add one of the progress bars to the first one. So search progress bar, and hover it over the first size box, and it'll automatically fill the entire thing. So here in this progress bar, it does basically what you think it would do. It has this percent, which is a bar ranging from 0 to 1, not 0 to 100. And if we drag it, you can see it updates in real time. This fill color by default is blue. You can change the bar fill type. Left to right is default. You can make it right to left. You can fill from center, top to bottom, or bottom to top. But we are going to make it left to right. Let's rename this progress bar to health bar. And because they're all going to be variables, then we need to know which ones to reference. And I want to change the style of this, since I don't want the default, which is why I had us import an empty and a full. So background image, we can just search for empty. We have HUD progress bar empty, that's what we imported. And if we go to fill image and open this, we can type progress, I forgot what I called it. HUD progress bar full. Click on that. And we can collapse these again. We don't have to change the marquee image because it's not marquee. We see right here, if we check is marquee, it's does that, and it'll never be that in our game, so we don't have to worry about changing it. Now if we adjust the percent here, it is now updated to what our progress bar looks like. The fill color and opacity is still defaulted to blue, so I'm going to change this back to white, just because I'm not a fan of the blue. And now we have a custom progress bar. So let's duplicate this and add it to other size boxes. So Control-C, Control-V, Control-V, make sure you're duplicating them inside the size boxes. And we'll rename these stamina bar and battery bar. Alright, now let's create a vertical box for our icons here. So we'll need a new vertical box, and we're going to add it to our canvas panel here. So we have two vertical boxes under our canvas panel. This one's going to be aligned to the left. So let's select this right here. Offsets for the top and bottom are going to be 20 again for both, so it's equal to the one on the right. And the X size is not going to be 100, but it will be 60. Now we need 3 images right here, and we'll put them inside size boxes. So search for size box, put it in vertical box, and we need to check fill. If we don't have anything for the width and height override and we choose fill, and these are both set to fill, it will obviously fill. It takes command from these alignments, and these width and height override actually override. Speaking of those, we want to make them 25 by 25, which won't be affected until we change the alignment. So if we change them to center, you'll see we now have this 25 by 25 box. But we only want the vertically aligned to be center and the horizontal to be right. So it's just a bit closer to our bars right here. Now let's duplicate this twice. So Command C, or Control C, I mean. Unless you're on a Mac, then it would be Command C. Choose the vertical box and Control V, vertical box, Control V. And they are now aligned with our progress bars. So let's add images to them. So just search for image, drag it onto the first one. This first one is our health bar. So we want the health, or it's called heart. Yeah, heart icon 1. And drag an image into the next 2. And this one here is our stamina icon. Stamina icon, and the last one is our battery icon. It's this battery icon right here, not the battery icon we made for our inventory. Make sure that looks good, yeah. So let's add this to our main HUD and see what this looks like. So if we go into our UMD folder, open main HUD, and if we go to user created, it's starting to get a bit big, so we can always just search for it. Progress bars, we have our W progress bars right here, and you just drag it in. Kind of see the size it takes up on our overall screen, and we can anchor it to the lower left. I'm going to change the Y alignment to 1, because if position Y is at 0, I want that to be still in the screen, so 1. And if X is 0, since it's on the left side, it stays normal. I'll just make these position 50 and -25, sure. And let's see how this looks in game. So let's hit play. And now we have those 3 bars at the bottom. Could maybe even move them a little farther down. So actually, I think 0 and 0 might look good. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, I think that looks great. So now we have our 3 icons down there, but they don't have any functionality and they don't adjust with our health, stamina, or battery. So in our progress bars widget, in our graph, we'll need to reference the player character, but let's create that reference in our main HUD. So once we're in our graph of our main HUD, I deleted the pre-construct, construct, and tick as we don't need them right now. We just need to create the variable for player ref and make it of type L1 character, object reference. We need it editable and exposed on spawn, so check those two. And in our L1 character right here, we can just go to our initialize function, it's right here. And we initialize all these things, and you can see when we create the main HUD, we are now going to set our player reference. That's why we're doing it in the main HUD, so it's easier than doing it in every single sub-widget. We can just take it from the main HUD. So let's right-click on our main HUD widget, and we just need to refresh the node. And our player ref shows up here, and that's because we made the variable expose on spawn. So since we're spawning this in, our player ref can now be adjusted. And we can just get a reference to ourself as that player ref. Now in W progress bars, we have to also make a variable for player ref. So player ref, get in as L1 character, object reference, compile and save. And we need to set it in our main HUD. And we do need the event construct right here. And we just have to get W progress bars. It exists right here, and that's just because it's added into our main HUD. And we just can set the player ref as our player ref right here. So the reference just gets passed down the line from our character to our main HUD to our W progress bars. So now in our progress bars, we just need to set our progress bars, I should say. So let's start with the health. So we can just select it, and we have this percent right here. Remember, we need this to be anywhere between 0 and 1. And we'll do that by binding it. So select this binder here, and we want to create binding. So click that, and we just have created essentially this function with an output, and this output needs to be a number between 0 and 1 to set our progress bar. So to get that, we'll get our player ref, and since this is health, we'll get BPC health, and we just need all three variables, the current health, the minimum health, and the maximum health. So to get the current health, which could be a number between 0 and 100, to a value that's between 0 and 1, we just need to divide the current health by the max health. And that makes it now a value between 0 and 1 rather than 0 and 100. This is great because it allows us to change our max health at any time and our progress bar will not be affected. Although, if you want to change your minimum health, this does change things. This little bit of math here does not work unless the minimum health is 0, which it is and it will be for most of you, but if anybody does want to change it, this is how you get around this. It's just kind of a foolproof way of setting up your code to do all the math right. So instead of getting the current health directly to divide by max health, we get current health divided by, not divided by, I'm sorry, minus float, our min health, and plug it in like that. Since our min health is 0 at the moment, this doesn't actually do anything, as in this value is equal to our current health, so it doesn't hurt you if your min health is 0. But if it is something else, subtracting the min health from the current health and then dividing it by the max health will then once again give us a value between 0 and 1, and I'll put it into the return value. We just need to repeat this process for the stamina and the battery. So let's grab our stamina progress bar, percent, we want to create a new binding, pull this out, play ref, and get BPC movement. So we need our max current and min stamina, so we can get our max stamina, our current, oh, and our current, I know why our current isn't showing up. We need to open BPC movement. So if you go into content, blueprints, blueprint components, and open BPC movement, we have our max, current, and min right here. We made our current and min private, but I just realized we actually need them to be public, so uncheck private for both of those. Back in our W progress bars, we can now access them. So we'll get the max, current, and min stamina. And let's just do the same bit of code right here. So current stamina minus min stamina divided by our max stamina. That's stamina. Now let's do battery. So select the battery progress bar, percent, bind, create binding. And we just need our player ref. We need our BPC flashlight. And we need current battery level, min battery level, and max battery level. Let's get our current minus our min divided by our max. Compile and save, and now all three should be working. Let's actually test it out. So let's hit play, and you can see the stamina and the battery are full, and the health is not. So let's test out the health first. If you remember our buttons 2 and 3 on our keyboard, deplete and add to it. We'll see it also in the top left as it prints strings. So let's hit 2, and you can see in the top left it says 48, and our bar has also depleted. Press 2 more until it's gone, press 3, and we can just play around with that. Now for stamina, let's just start sprinting around and see if the stamina bar down there updates. And it does. So we're gonna just keep sprinting, and we're gonna stop about halfway. It's gonna wait a few seconds and start refilling. There we go. We're gonna start sprinting again. I'm gonna sprint all the way to 0. Almost there. And 0, we stop sprinting. I can't sprint anymore. Pressing shift. And it should start refilling. There we go. And lastly, battery. If we turn on our battery, we can see at the bottom left and in the top left that our battery is depleting. Once it gets to 20%, it should start fading. There it is, and we are out. And we cannot turn our battery back on. I'm also going to hit 2 a couple more times to take our health away. Now let's pick up some bandages and some batteries. And let's use a battery and look in the bottom left as I use it. And it's replenished our battery. Let's take a health pack, and it's given us 30% of our health. There we go. Alright, so it looks like those now work. We can get rid of the print strings in the upper left. We can go into our BPC movement and find all our print strings. So if we go to find results here, we search for print string. We see we have 2 in here. So one is during the sprint timer. Let's just delete this and plug that back in. Let's double click the other one. This is during our regeneration stamina. Delete this and plug this in. Compile and save. We can do the same in our flashlight. So find results, print string, no results found. Right, I believe we do that in our L1 character, but we'll go back to that. So open BPC health. There's one right there already, but let's go ahead and search for print string, and that's the only one. So we can go ahead and delete it. Now in L1 character, we have a lot of print strings we want to keep, but I know where the one we want to get rid of is in the event graph. We can leave these here since they're a debug, the 2 and 3. But I'm going to get rid of the tick for the flashlight battery level. Oops, well, did not mean to do that. Let's just bring these all up a little bit. Alright, so it's a bit more clean now, and we only have the bottom left to tell us what our current percentages are at.